of the Indian which makes each body incorporate one more time. Integrate inhibitors block the DNA to prevent viral protein production. Block the RNA to prevent viral protein production. Block enzyme protease inhibitors inhibit the budding of virus from host cells. Most commonly used drugs target the virus mainly by inhibiting the enzymes reverse transcriptase inhibitors, integrase inhibitors, and protease inhibitors, and are depicted in Table 1. The ART guidelines have been developed by various international agencies such as the World Health Organization, Department of Health and Human Services, British HIV Association, International AIDS Society, National AIDS Control Organization. These guidelines deal with major issues listed in the following text: when to start treatment, which and how many agents to use, what is the choice of optimal regimen, how to monitor the therapy, how long to give therapy, when to change therapy, and to what change, what are the drug interactions involving the ART. A number of agencies such as WHO, DHHS, BHIVA, and IAS update the treatment guidelines from time to time. However, one has to remember that while the DHHS and BHIVA guidelines are patient-centered, the WHO guidelines follow a public health approach toward wider coverage with simplified regimen that can be provided in decentralized settings. Most developing countries, including India, adopt the WHO guidelines in their own context. After discussion in their technical resource group TRG that consists of experts from public and private sectors as well as representatives from professional associations such as Association of Physicians of India, Indian Medical Association, and Network of People Living with HIV. When to start ERT? The guidelines on when to start ERT have been evolving over the years toward earlier initiation of ERT at CD4 count of less than 200 cells per year in 2004 to less than 350 cells in 2010, moving to less than 500 in 2013, and the current recommendation since 2016 is to treat all irrespective of clinical stage or CD4 count. The basis for these changes has been evolving evidence from various randomized controlled studies, trials, and large observational cohorts which have revealed that with earlier ART initiation there was a significant delay in progression to AIDS and reduction in incidence of tuberculosis. These studies are briefly summarized in Figure 3. The current global recommendation is to treat all people living with HIV regardless of CD4 count or clinical stage for all age groups and all populations. This includes all pregnant and breastfeeding women irrespective of duration of pregnancy. The National AIDS Control Organization has also adopted treat all recommendation for all PLHIV since May 2017. Okay. What regimen to start? With regard to what ART regimen to start in a treatment-naive patient, the principle is to start a combination of at least 3 agents from different classes of ARV drugs, as this gives maximal achievable suppression of HIV replication over a prolonged period of time and reduces the chance of emergence of drug-resistant strains. The most commonly used combination till now was using 2 drugs from nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors NRTI and one from non-nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors NNRTI, which is a combination of tenofovir 300 mg, lamivudine 300 mg, efavirenz 600 mg in a single pill as standard of care. Use of this regimen had many advantages such as simplicity, effectivity, good tolerability, and then availability as a single and steady fixed dose combination. Therefore, easy to prescribe and easy for patients to take, which also facilitates adherence regimens across range of population, adult, pregnant women, first trimester, and children more than 3 years. TB and Hep B simplifies drug procurement, is safe in pregnancy and efficacious against hepatitis B virus. In 2018, the WHO recommended the use of dolutegravir DTG in the first line ERT based on evidence that DTG based ERT regimen leads to faster viral suppression than with efavirenz. Average 4 weeks for DTG versus 12 weeks for our efavirenz. It has fewer side effects, fewer drug-drug interaction, and above all, patients and dolutegravir have higher threshold for developing resistance. Before I go on to complete this paragraph, I want to finish the table and the beautiful flowchart written. Table is regarding commonly used ERT drugs and their abbreviations. NRTIs Zidodin, AZT, Lamudin, 3TC, Abacavir ABC, Azidonosin DDI, Emtricitabine, AFTC, Staudin D40. Nucleotide reverse transcriptase inhibitors are tenofovir, TDF. Non-nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors, NNRTIs, are nevirapine, efavirenz, etravirin. Nevirapine, efavirenz, and etravirin. In VP for nevirapine, efavirenz, EFV, and etravirin. Protease inhibitors, we have atazanavir, ritonavir, lopinavir, sakinavir, darunavir, indinavir, nelfinavir, amprenavir, osamprenavir, tripranavir. Integrase inhibitors such as raltegravir, RAL, dolutegravir. Fusion inhibitors are enfovirtide and maravirat, MVC, CCR5 co-receptor antagonist. So these are the abbreviations that we supposed to know. Atazanavir, ritonavir, lopinavir, sakinavir, darunavir, indinavir, nelfinavir, amprenavir, osamprenavir, intiprenavir, raltegravir and dolutegravir, and enfovirtide and maravirat, virapine, efavirenz, and etravirin. Okay. 1995 to 2005, several ACTG and CPCRA studies, early post-hard RA ERT initiation, CD4 less than 200 cell per mm3, impact on AIDS mortality and major OIs incidence. CIPRA and SMART study, CRT initiation of CD4 less than 350 cells per mm3, impact on HIV mortality, disease progression and comorbidities. CIPRA 70% decline in death and 50% of TB, and similarly in SMART trial. Observational study, CRT initiation of CD4 more than 350 cells per mm3, impact on mortality, disease progression and non-AIDS events. HPTN 052, 96% reduction of HIV transmission among HIV sero discordant couples and risk of TB in adults, impact on HIV incidence. Then 2015, Temprano and START study, CRT initiation and CD4 more than 500 cells per mm3, impact on severe HIV morbidity and disease progression without increase in severe adverse events, 0.44%, less deaths, and IPT 35%, and START 53% with time. What regimen to start with? Okay, that we will address eventually. The evidence was provided mainly from the single study which compared the efficacy and safety of dolutegravir as compared to current standard of care, tenofovir plus lamivudine plus efavirenz. It used to be TEL regimen, now it is TED regimen. Now it is TLD regimen. So it's not TED, it's TLD regimen. The key findings from study revealed that at week 48, the proportion of participants with HIV-1 RNA level less than 50 copies per ml was significantly higher in the ATG ABC 3TC group than in the efavirenz TDF FTC group, 88% versus 81%, p is equal to 0.003. It was also seen that DTG abacavir TTC group had a shorter median time to viral suppression than efavirenz TDF FTC group, 28 days versus 84 days, p-value less than 0.001, as well as greater increase in CD4 T cell count to 67 versus 208 per cubic mm, p less than 0.01. The proportion of participants who discontinued therapy owing to advanced events was lower in DTG, ABC, and 3TC group. Dolutegravir, abacavir, and then lamivudine group, then efavirenz, tenofovir, and emtricitabine group. Efavirenz, tenofovir, FTC is emtricitabine. Okay. Results from some other studies such as Flamingo, Spring 2, Sailing showed that DTG was superior not only to efavirenz but also to raltegravir and protease inhibitors, as well as above all has a strong resistance barrier. No known treatment emergent resistant was seen across trials. This was a very significant finding, as it is well known that efavirenz has a very weak genetic barrier to resistance. Accordingly, the WHO in 2018 recommended to include dolutegravir as preferred first-line drug along with tenofovir and lamivudine. However, an ongoing observational SEPAMO study in Botswana identified a signal of potential safety risk for developing neural tube defects among infants born to women who were taking dolutegravir at conception. Interim analysis identified 4 neural tube defects out of 426 women taking dolutegravir at the time of conception for a rate of 0.9%, 0.37 to 2.4%. Over the years, the incidence of neural tube defects has been shown to be much lower. In 2019, WHO updated ERT guidelines and recommended that FDC emtricitabine of tenofovir, lamivudine, dolutegravir should be preferred first-line regimen for all adult patients. TLD should be the preferred regimen, including women, and upgraded the recommendation from condition to strong recommendation. It also recommended to adopt a woman-centered approach to healthcare should be taken that consciously adopts the perspectives of women and their families and communities, with care provided in ways that respect women's autonomy in decision making and provide information and options to enable women to make informed choices. These guidelines are summarized in Table 2. In November 2020, the NEPO has also adopted these guidelines to start all new patients on DTG based ART and transition patients on other regimen to dolutegravir in phased manner. So the current guideline is tenofovir, lamivudine, and dolutegravir (DTG). Okay. New patients on DTG based dolutegravir based ART and transition patients on other regimens to DTG is phased manner. So the current guideline is tenofovir, lamivudine, dolutegravir. Tenofovir 300 mg, lamivudine 300 mg, and dolutegravir 50 mg in a single pill once daily as a standard of care. Patients' preparedness for a lifelong therapy and need for regular monitoring are essential for optimal adherence. Opportunistic infections, if any, should be treated first before initiating ART. Patients should undergo therapy counseling along with detailed clinical evaluation. Comorbid conditions such as HBV infection and HCV infection need to be evaluated for proper selection of ARVs. Considering the efficacy in drug interactions, monitoring of therapy, frequent and regular follow-up, especially during the initial months of the treatment, is very important in order to ensure timely diagnosis and the management of adverse events to work with the patient on adherence issues and to diagnose any clinical manifestations such as opportunistic infections, high-risk immune reconstitution, inflammatory syndrome. Generally, morbidity and mortality on ERT occurs in the first 3 to 6 months of initiation of therapy. The various monitoring indicators are as below. Clinical monitoring is weight, overall well-being, any fresh symptoms, routine and symptom screening for TB on every visit. Monthly treatment adherence evaluation, that is pill count self-reported. For adverse reactions of ERT or opportunistic infections. And then for drug interactions, look for concomitant drugs that are taken by patient and to screen for the presence of immune reconstitution and inflammatory syndrome. Immunological monitoring, CD4 count every 6 months, but for virologically suppressed patients, frequency can be reduced or stopped. Virological monitoring at 6 months, 12 months, and every 12 months. 6, 12, and every 12 months, then on. CD4 count is every 6 months, but for virologically suppressed patients, frequency can be reduced, or even you don't have to monitor only. Some laboratory parameters to be monitored regularly are depicted in this table 3, which I will go through before starting with this ERT, drug toxicity. So patients who are on particular ERT, what to monitor with that? Patients on zeruvirin based ERT, AZT based ERT, you have to do baseline CBC and on 15 day and on first month and second month, third month, then at 6 months, then every 6 months, because it is known to cause bone marrow suppression. Tenofovir based ERT, you have to monitor serum creatine at baseline at 1 month and at 3 months and then on every 6 months. Nevirapine containing ERT, you have to monitor LFT, especially ALT enzyme, at baseline 15th day and first month and then 6 month and then every 6 month. Efavirenz containing ART, you have to monitor lipid profile at baseline once and then on at 6 months and then every 6 months. Then what we have is atazanavir containing ART and lopinavir containing ART. Atazanavir containing ERT, you have to monitor all LFT and at baseline 15 day, 1 month, second month, third month, and every 6 months. Lopinavir containing ERT, you have to monitor lipid profile and then blood sugar at baseline and then at 6 months and not every 6 months. What I want you to take home from this table is zeruvirin, CBC, tenofovir, KFT, nevirapine and atazanavir, LFT, and then efavirenz and lopinavir, lipid profile. In addition to lipid profile, for the combination containing lopinavir, you have to monitor RBS also. Okay. It is preferable or desirable to monitor patients with viral load at 6 and 12 months after initiation of ERT and then viral load every 12 months. Once viral suppression is achieved, for stable patients with virological suppression, frequency of CD4 can be reduced or stopped. CD4 test is required for CPT initiation and starting this cotrimoxazole prophylactic therapy and for primary and secondary prophylaxis of some opportunistic infections. Any other can be done earlier based on the clinician's assessment or clinician's discretion and as per availability. Moving on to this topic, antiretroviral drug toxicity. Antiretroviral drugs have a broad range of toxicities ranging from low-grade intolerance, which may be self-limiting, to life-threatening side effects. As a general principle, mild toxicity does not require discontinuation of ERT or substitution. Symptomatic treatment may be given. Moderate or severe toxicities may require substitution with a drug of the same ARV class but with a different toxicity profile. Severe life-threatening toxicity requires discontinuation of all ARV drugs until the patient is stabilized and the toxicity is resolved. Treatment failure, when to change and what to change. The adherence to ART is one of the most crucial determinants of success of ART on long-term basis. The adherence of 95% or more is crucial for patients to achieve desirable suppression of viral replication. However, even with good adherence levels, resistance occurs to antiretroviral drugs over a period of time to viral mutation, and this requires change of ARV drugs. The virological failure appears first, followed by immunological failure, which finally leads to clinical failure. It is desirable to switch the entire regimen from first to second line as soon as virological failure is detected. Table 4 depicts the criteria for suspecting and confirming the treatment failure, and guidance on second line ARV regimen is provided in this table 5. HIV or tuberculosis co-infection. Initiation of treatment of acute TB should always be on priority, followed by initiation of ARV therapy as per the guidelines, and should be started as soon as patient is stabilized on ATT, anti-tubercular treatment. In HIV infected patients with the TB who are not currently on ART and who are provided rifampicin based anti-TB treatment, initiate ART with one tablet of tenofovir 300 plus lamivudine 300 plus dolutegravir 50 mg and one additional tablet of dolutegravir 50 mg at 12-hour interval. After the ATT is completed, the additional tablet of dolutegravir can be stopped and tenofovir 300, lamivudine 300 and dolutegravir 50 mg and can be continued lifelong. HIV and hepatitis B co-infection. HIV and TB we came to know. Okay. Active TB treatment should be priority followed by ART. In HIV infected patients with TB who are not currently on ART who are provided rifampicin based TB treatment, initiate ART with one tablet of tenofovir 300 plus lamivudine 300 plus dolutegravir 50 mg and one additional tablet of dolutegravir 50 mg at 12-hour interval. After the ATT is completed, the additional tablet of dolutegravir can be stopped. Tenofovir 300, lamivudine 300, dolutegravir 50 mg can be continued lifelong. HIV hepatitis B co-infection. This was what my friend was asking. How do you deal with liver-related morbidity and mortality is very common in patients on ERT. The common cause for liver-related deaths is co-infection with hepatitis viruses. It is recommended that all HIV patients should be screened for HbA/AG and anti-HBC antibody if possible. HCV RNA and HCV genotype at the baseline. It should be ensured that additional baseline investigations such as liver function tests, prothrombin time, that is serum proteins, HbA/AG and HBV DNA are also done. Serum proteins, HbA/AG, HBV DNA are also done. Appropriate treatment for co-infections need to be instituted at the earliest, and the drug-drug interactions with ARV need to be kept in mind. All HBV HIV co-infected patients should be on tenofovir plus lamivudine based regimen. Tenofovir and lamivudine based regimen. Liver-related morbidity and mortality is very common in patients on ART. The common cause for liver-related deaths is co-infection with hepatitis viruses. It is recommended that all HIV infected patients should be screened for HbA/AG, anti-HBC antibody if possible. HCV RNA and HCV genotype at the baseline. It should be ensured that additional baseline investigations such as liver function test, prothrombin time, serum proteins, HbA/AG, HBV DNA are also done. Appropriate treatment for co-infections need to be instituted at the earliest, and the drug-drug interactions with ARVs need to be kept in mind. All HIV co-infected patients should be on tenofovir plus lamivudine based regimen. Only thing you're seeing is monitoring this HCV RNA levels and LFT and also HBV DNA levels with HBE. Use of ARV drugs for post-exposure prophylaxis following needle stick injury. This is something you come across in a daily practice in ward. Post-exposure prophylaxis refers to the comprehensive management instituted to minimize the risk of infection following potential exposure to blood-borne pathogens. HIV, HBV, HCV. This includes first aid, counseling, risk assessment, relevant laboratory investigations based on informed consent of the source and exposed person. Depending on the risk assessment, the provision of short-term 4 weeks of antiretroviral drugs with follow-up and support, including maintaining confidentiality. A designated person or a trained doctor must assess the risk of HIV and HBV transmission following an accidental exposure to blood. This evaluation must be made rapidly so as to start any treatment as soon as possible after the accident. This assessment must be made thoroughly because not every accidental exposure to blood requires prophylactic treatment. The first dose of PEP post-exposure prophylaxis should be administered ideally within 2 hours, but certainly within first 72 hours of exposure, and the risk evaluated as soon as possible. The currently recommended drug for post-exposure prophylaxis is fixed dose combination FDC of tenofovir plus lamivudine plus dolutegravir once daily for 28 days. However, if source of injury is on ERT, then we need to consult a specialist to decide on the regimen. Conclusion: antiretroviral therapy is quite effective in suppressing viral replication, delaying the progression of disease, and has changed the management of HIV disease dramatically. Millions of lives and millions of new infections have been saved due to ERT has been evolving rapidly and toward earlier initiation with more robust and less toxic regimens. Present day ART with initiation with a single pill fixed drug combination, regardless of CD4 count, offers and hope to reach out to more and more people, decentralize the delivery of ART, and with 95-95-95 strategy, which can hope to begin the end of AIDS epidemic as people live longer on ART. The issues of adherence, toxicity, emerging resistance, and cost of newer drugs will emerge as newer challenges. The future options include new group of drugs, better strategies, but the correct usage of these agents, their timings of initiation, and proper monitoring is of utmost importance if we want these drugs to remain effective. The therapy is no doubt placenta for those already infected, but HIV prevention messages and probably AIDS vaccination are the keys to halting the progression of the epidemic of this fatal disease. The reports about sterilizing cure of virgin patient and functional cure of a US infant home encouraged researchers to look beyond controlling the virus with ART. Defining antiretroviral failure, clinical failure, immunological failure, and virological failure. Clinical failure definition goes like this: adults and adolescents, new or recurrent clinical events indicating severe immunodeficiency, WHO clinical stage 4 condition after 6 months of effective treatment. Comments is the condition must be differentiated from IRIS according after initiation of the article. For adults, certain WHO clinical stage 3 conditions, pulmonary TB and severe bacterial infection may also indicate treatment failure. Immunological failure, adults and adolescents, CD4 count at or below 250 cells per mmQ following clinical failure or persistent CD4 levels below 100 cells per mmQ without concomitant or recent infection to cause transient decline in the CD4 cell count. Current WHO clinical and immunological criteria have low sensitivity and positive predictive value for identifying individuals with virological failure. Virological failure, viral load above. Immunological failure is defined as CD4 count at below 250 following clinical failure or persistent CD4 below 100 without concomitant or recent infection to cause transient decline in the CD4 cell count is the thing which we have to see. Current WHO clinical and immunological criteria have low sensitivity and positive predictive value for identifying individuals with virological failure. So, virological failure is viral load above 1000 copies per ml based on two consecutive viral load measurements in 3 months. We are doing two consecutive viral load measurements in 3 months with adherent support following first viral load test. So what you're going to do is you are going to take a sample for the first viral load test, and then you're going to review the complaints of the patient to taking the drugs. And then later second sample will be drawn within 3 months duration. Any individual must be taking the RT for at least 6 months before it can be determined that a regimen has failed. So they have to complete 6 months duration. of ART before telling it has failed. Previous guidelines defined immunological failure based on fall from baseline, which no longer applicable in the context of CD4 independent treatment initiation. The option of CD4 cell count at or below 250 following clinical failure is based on analysis of data from Uganda and Zimbabwe. So previous definition of immunological failure is not applied now. No, after initiation of ART, you're just measuring CD4 count, which is below 250, or persistently it is less than 100 without concomitant recent infection because tension declares in CD4 count and current WHO clinical and immunological criteria are low sensitivity. That's why we came up with virological failure criteria. And then what we have is one more table telling the WHO ART guidelines for those uh, with failure to first line ART, that is July 2019. So whenever there is a first line ART failure, what are we going to do? Adults more than 30 kg, first line regimens which I will prefer is 2 NRTIs with dolutegravir or 2 NRTIs with efavirenz. NRTI backbone to be changed to unused NRTI. Lamudine can be written as any resistant to it. It will make the virus less fit. Okay, that is important. So first line has failed means now NRTI backbone to be changed to unused NRTI. But remember, lamudine can be retained as any resistant to it will make virus less fit. Okay. Then 2 NRTIs with efavirenz. Preferred second line regimens are 2 NRTIs with atazanavir or lopinavir or 2 NRTIs with dolutegravir. Alternate second line regimen is 1 to 2 NRTI with darunavir, 1 to 2 NRTI with dolutegravir. So this is a bird eye view. Okay, it's very focused after the failure of this first line NRT. What are we going to do like that? Okay. First line regimens, as we know, 2 NRTIs with dolutegravir, 2 NRTIs with efavirenz. Preferred second line is 2 NRTIs with atazanavir or lopinavir, 2 NRTIs with dolutegravir. Alternate second line regimens, what we have is 1 to 2 NRTIs with darunavir and 1 to 2 NRTIs with dolutegravir. Okay. Next is chapter 13, antiretroviral drug toxicities and drug interactions, written by a respected professor Dr. Atul K. Patel and Dr. Ketan K. Patel. So this chapter is particularly important for a physician because so many population on ERT is coming with these drug toxicities and drug interaction. As an internist, I am supposed to know this in detail. So without undue delay, let us start with antiretroviral drug toxicities. The introduction goes like this. ART has transformed human immunodeficiency virus infection into a manageable chronic infection and eliminated HIV transmission from infected individuals to others. The shortfalls of a current ART regimen include failure to eradicate or cure the virus, a lifelong therapy, and requirement for a good treatment adherence. The current ART medicines are having good safety profiles as compared to the medicines available 20 years back. The current ART includes safe molecules with improved safety profiles when compared with more senior agents available before 20 years. This chapter will focus more on the toxicity associated with the currently recommended ART agents. Broadly, toxicities are divided into short-term and long-term toxicities. Apart from short-term toxicity, which can lead to drug discontinuation, clinicians should be vigilant for long-term toxicity as ART is a lifelong commitment and can affect life quality. These adverse drug reactions to ART have either been clinically manifested or asymptomatic and picked up by laboratory investigation. HIV treatment guidelines recommended that clinicians should perform periodic laboratory testing to pick up unexpected adverse drug reaction to ART such as renal toxicities, Fanconi syndrome, and dyslipidemia and transaminitis. Broadly, potential ART toxicities range from mild gastrointestinal intolerance to renal toxicity to weight gain, cardiovascular effects and hypersensitivity, skin reactions, insomnia, and neuropsychiatric manifestations. Mitochondrial toxicities are now less commonly seen with the newer generation ART. The common adverse drug reactions we are described in this chapter: nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors, older generation nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors, that is NRTS, such as didenosine, stavudine, and zalcitabine, which are not used nowadays, were associated with significant mitochondrial toxicities, including lactic acidosis, metabolic abnormalities, and then hepatic steatosis, myopathy, cardiomyopathy, pancreatitis, and lipodystrophy. These D drugs were also associated with painful peripheral neuropathy. These side effects are uncommon with abacavir, emtricitabine, lamivudine, tenofovir, alafenamide, or tenofovir diazoxyl fumarate. Zidovudine is associated with the severe anemia. That is something which you have to keep in mind, resembling pure red cell aplasia and bluish nail pigmentation, apart from sharing common mitochondrial toxicities. So once again, I want to go through NRTIs, nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors toxicities, older generation NRTIs, didenosine, DDI, stavudine, D40. D40, the name is stavudine, there is no S in there, but still it is D40 is the abbreviation used for stavudine. And zalcitabine, again it is DDC, zalcitabine, which are not used nowadays. We are not using didenosine, stavudine, zalcitabine, so you don't have to worry much about their abbreviations also. They were associated with significant mitochondrial toxicities, including lactic acidosis, metabolic abnormalities, hepatic steatosis, myopathy, cardiomyopathy, pancreatitis, and lipodystrophy. These D drugs were also associated with painful peripheral neuropathy. These side effects are uncommon with abacavir, emtricitabine, lamivudine, tenofovir, alafenamide, or tenofovir diazoxyl fumarate (TDF). Zidovudine is associated with severe anemia resembling poor red cell aplasia and bluish nail pigmentation, apart from sharing common mitochondrial toxicities. NRTA effects on the lipid profile. Didenosine, stavudine, and zidovudine. Didenosine, stavudine, and zidovudine typically produce an elevation in the serum lipid levels, while abacavir and emtricitabine and lamivudine and TAF have relatively neutral effects on serum lipids, whereas TDF use is associated with improvement in the lipid parameters. Again, NRTI effects on lipid profile. Didenosine, stavudine, zidovudine typically produce elevation of serum lipid levels, while abacavir, emtricitabine, lamivudine, and tenofovir has relatively neutral effects on serum levels, whereas tenofovir use is associated with improvement in our lipid parameters. So I just wanted to know what is the drug TAF, which is abbreviated here. TDF is tenofovir. What is this TAF? Okay. Tenofovir is associated with improved lipid measurements. Abacavir hypersensitivity reaction is a potentially life-threatening side effects with the NRTI. HLA-B5701 is a good screening test to predict the abacavir hypersensitivity before prescribing cardiovascular side effects. Though data are conflicting, abacavir is associated with ischemic heart disease. Several studies support the use of abacavir and its association with cardiovascular diseases. Emtricitabine and lamivudine have the best tolerability and safety profile among all the NRTIs. That's something which you have to keep in mind. Emtricitabine and lamivudine have the best tolerability and safety profile. That's why we are still using lamivudine here. Okay. Use of abacavir is associated with cardiovascular disease. So if you are treating a patient of IHD, DCM, CAD, or any kind of cardiomyopathy, any kind of cardiovascular comorbidity, and if you are using abacavir, you have to keep in mind the cardiovascular side effects of this abacavir. Okay. Tenofovir alafenamide generates a very low level of free tenofovir into the serum. It freely enters and hydrolyzes intracellularly to generate tenofovir, which may be responsible for relatively better renal and bone safety profile while maintaining efficacy. Tenofovir alafenamide Alafenamide is associated. Oh, okay, okay. TF is tenofovir, alafenamide is neutral effect, whereas TDF is having the improved effect. That's what we're supposed to get it as. TF is associated with nephrotoxicity reflected by a gradual decline in GFR rate and proximal tubulopathy manifested by Fanconi syndrome. Patients receiving either tenofovir disoproxil fumarate or tenofovir alafenamide should be closely monitored for nephrotoxicity. Osteoporosis. Patients receiving ART should be evaluated for bone mineral density as they will have accelerated demineralization after initiation of ART for the first 2 years, then stabilizes. Patients receiving tenofovir emtricitabine containing ART can have significantly decreased bone mineral density at the spine and hip compared to abacavir or lamivudine. So osteoporosis is one of the concern. Here I want to take a break. See, maximum I can study in one stage that was 40 minutes, and I'm not lying. After that, I need some break. This is 1 second study chunk. OD. Module.
Now connected to OnePlus Nord. ಅನುಮಾನವೇ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಭಿಮಾನಿ ನಾನೀಗ ನಿನ್ನ ಹಾಗೆ ಯಾರಿಲ್ಲ ಈ ಸುಂದರ ಸೋಜಿಗ ಅನುಮಾನವೇ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅನುರಾಗಿ ನಾನೀಗ ಬದಲಾಗಿದೆ ಈಗ ನಿನ್ನಿಂದಲೇ ಈ ಜಗ ಅನುಕ್ಷಣವೂ ಇನ್ನು ಮುಂದೆ ನನಗೆ ನೀನು ಬೇಕು ನೀಸಿರು ಹೋಗುವಾಗ ನಿನ್ನ ಮಡಿಲೇಬೇಕು ಅನುಮಾನವೇ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಭಿಮಾನಿ ನಾನೀಗ ನಿನ್ನ ಹಾಗೆ ಯಾರಿಲ್ಲ ಈ ಸುಂದರ ಸೋಜಿಗ ಚೂರು ನೀನದರು ಹೊಸ ಬಣ್ಣದಿ ಬಾನಿಗೆ ಪಾದ ಊರಿದರೆ ಅದು ಚಿತ್ತಾರ ಭೂಮಿಗೆ ಚಿಗುರಿರೆ ನೀನು ಎದೆಯೊಳಗೆ ಕುಸುಮ ನಾಚಿಕೆ ಅರಳಿದೆ ಜೀವ ಒಳಗೊಳಗೆ ಬಿಸು ಬಿಸು ಮಾತಿಗೆ ನಿನ್ನ ಪ್ರೀತಿಗಾಗಿ ಇನ್ನು ನಾನು ನೂರು ಸಾರಿ ಸಾಯುವೆ ಅನುಮಾನವೇ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಭಿಮಾನಿ ನಾನೀಗ ನಿನ್ನ ಹಾಗೆ ಯಾರಿಲ್ಲ ನೀ ಸುಂದರ ಸೋಜಿಗ ನಿನ್ನ ಕಣ್ಣಲ್ಲಿ ನನ್ನನ್ನು ಬಾಚಿ ತಪ್ಪಿಬಿಡು ನಾನೇನು ಕೇಳನು ಹಗಲಲು ನಿಂದೆ ಕನವರೆಗೆ ಮರುಳದ ಜೀವಕ್ಕೆ ನೆರಳಿಗೂ ಚಡಪಡಿಗೆ ಹಿರಿಯರ ಸಂಗಕ್ಕೆ ಬೇರೆ ಯಾವ ದೇವರಿಲ್ಲ ನೀನೆ ನೀನೆ ನನ್ನ ದೇವತೆ ಅನುಮಾನವೇ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಭಿಮಾನಿ ನಾನೀಗ ನಿನ್ನ ಹಾಗೆ ಯಾರಿಲ್ಲ ನೀ ಸುಂದರ ಸೋಜಗ ಅನುಕ್ಷಣವೂ ಇನ್ನು ಮುಂದೆ ನನಗೆ ನೀನೆ ಬೇಕು ಉಸಿರು ಹೋಗುವಾಗ ನಿನ್ನ ಮಡಿಲೇಬೇಕು ಅನುಮಾನವೇ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಭಿಮಾನಿ ನಾನೀಗ ನಿನ್ನ ಹಾಗೆ ಯಾರಿಲ್ಲ ನೀ ಸುಂದರ ಸೋಜಗ.
One of the great golden age film stars of all time. And it was very important for you. You wanted to get work, but you didn't want it to be because Henry Fonda.
ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ನೆನಪಿದೆ ನನಗೆ ಇದಕ್ಕೆಲ್ಲ ಕಾರಣ ಕಿರುನಗೆ ಮನದ ಪ್ರತಿದಲ್ಲಿಯೊಳಗು ನಿನಗೆ ಮೆರವಣಿಗೆ ಕನಸಿನ ಕುಲುಮೆಗೆ ಉಸಿರನು ಊದುತ್ತಾ ಬಿಹಾರುವುದು
ಬೇಗ ಬೇಕೇನ್ರಿ ಕೊಡಲ್ಲ ಕೊಡಲ್ಲ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕು ನಿಂಗೆ
ಇನ್ನೂ ಖಚಿತ ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ನೆನಪಿದೆ ನನಗೆ ಇದಕ್ಕೆಲ್ಲ ಕಾರಣ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಾಗದ ನನ್ನ ಹಂಚಿಪೆಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಏನೇ ಕಂಡರೂ ನೀನೆ ಜ್ಞಾಪಕ ನೀನೆ ಔಷಧಿ ನನ್ನ ಹಚ್ಚಿಗೆ ನೀನು ಮುದ್ದಾದ ಧ್ಯಾನ ಸಿಗದೆ ತುಂಬಾನೇ ಅನ್ಯಾಯ ನನ್ನಯ ನಡೆ ನೋಡಿ ಬಯಸುತ್ತ ಬದಲಾಗುವುದು ಇನ್ನೂ ಖಚಿತ ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ನೆನಪಿದೆ ನನಗೆ ಇದಕ್ಕೆಲ್ಲ ಕಾರಣ ನಿನ್ನ ನೃತ್ಯಕ್ಕೆ ಸಿದ್ಧವಾಗಿದೆ ನಿಂತರಂಗದ ರಂಗ ಸಜ್ಜಿಗೆ ನಿನ್ನ ನೋಡದ ನನ್ನ ಜೀವನ ಸುದ್ದಿಯಿಲ್ಲದ ಸುದ್ದಿ ಪತ್ರಿಕೆ ಸಿಕ್ಕಾಗ ಬೇಕಿಲ್ಲ ಜಾಮೀನು ಸರಸಕ್ಕಿಗಳಿಂದೇನೆ ಕಾನೂನು ತೋರಿರುವ ನೆನಪಲ್ಲಿ ಕಳೆಯುತ್ತಾ ಬೆಳಗಾಗುವುದು ಇನ್ನೂ ಖಚಿತ ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ನೆನಪಿದೆ ನನಗೆ ಇದಕ್ಕೆಲ್ಲ ಕಾರಣ ಮಳೆ ಹನಿಯಲ್ಲ ನಾನು ತಿಂಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ಲ ಇಬ್ಬನಿಯಲ್ಲ ನಾನು ಆರೋದಿಲ್ಲ ಬಲುಸೀರ ಬಲುಸಾರ ಹುಡುಗ ಕಡಿ ಇವನು ನಾನು ಬಾರದೆ ನಿನ್ನ ಕನಸಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಣದೆ ನಿನ್ನ ಎದುರಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದೇನ ನನ್ನ ಊರಲ್ಲಿ ನನ್ನಷ್ಟು ಏನ ಅತ್ತ ಪ್ರೀತಿಯ ನನ್ನ ಮಂತಿಯ ಸುಳ್ಳು ಹೆಂಡಿಯ ಮೊದಲು ಭೂಮಿಗಿಳಿದ ಮಳೆಯಲಿಯು ನೀನೇನ ಸೂರನೆಯ ತುಂಬಿಸಿದ ಇಬ್ಬನಿಯು ನೀನೇನ ಬಾರದೆ ನನ್ನ ಕನಸಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಣದೆ ನನ್ನ ಎದುರಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದೆಯೋ ಆ ಊರಲ್ಲಿ ನಿನ್ನನ್ನು ಕುಳಿತು ಮಳೆ ಹನಿಯಲ್ಲ ನಾನು ತಿಂಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ ಅಯ್ಯೋ ಇಂಪನಿಯಲ್ಲ ನಾನು ಆರೋದಿಲ್ಲ ಬರುಸೀದ ಬರುಸಾದ ಹುಡುಗ ಕಡೆ ಇವನು ನಾನು ಬಾರದೆ ನಿನ್ನ ಕನಸಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಣದೆ ನಿನ್ನ ಎದುರಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದೆನ ನನ್ನ ಊರಲ್ಲಿ ನನ್ನಷ್ಟು ಏನ ಹೋಲಿಕೆ ಮಾಡದೆ ಸುಂದರಗಳಿಗೆ ಮಾಡು ಹೋಲಿಕೆ ಆಗೋಟಿಗೆ ಹಾಲು ನೀಡಿದೆ ಮೊದಲು ಭೂಮಿಗಿಳಿದ ಮಳೆಹನಿ ನೀನೇನ ತುಂಬಲಿನ ಶುಂಭಿಸಿದ ಇಬ್ಬರಿಗೂ ನೀನೇನ ಕಾಣದೆ ನನ್ನ ಮನಸ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಣದೆ ಊರಲ್ಲಿ ಕುಳಿತು ಅಲ್ಲ ಮಳೆ ಹನಿಯಲ್ಲ ನಾನು ಹಿಂದುವುದಿಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ಲ ಇಬ್ಬನಿಯಲ್ಲ ನಾನು ಆರುವುದಿಲ್ಲ ಬಲುಸಿದ ಬಲುಸಾದ ಹುಡುಗ ಇವನು ನಾನು ಮಾಡದೆ ನಿನ್ನ ಕನಸಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಣದೆ ನಿನ್ನ ಎದುರಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದೆನು ನನ್ನ ಊರಲ್ಲಿ ನನ್ನಷ್ಟಕ್ಕೇನ
ನಾನ್ ನೋಡಿದ ಮಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲಾರು ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಸ್ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಲವರ್ಸ್ ಆಗ್ತಾರೆ, ಆದ್ರೆ ನಾವು ಲವರ್ಸ್ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಸ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ. ಒಂಥರ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಕಾಣ್ದೇ ಇರೋ ಖುಷಿ ತರ.
ಮಳೆ ಬರುವ ಹಾಗಿದೆ ಮನವೀಗ ಹಾಡಿದೆ ಕಾಣದಂತೆ ಹೀಗೆ ಹೇಕೋ ನಿನ್ನ ನೋಡಬೇಕಿದೆ.
Okay, I took a short break and then let's get back to the third chunk of the day. It should complete the morning session, I suppose. Yep. Let me set my timer to 40 minutes. Non-nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors, which is NNRPase. I think I got a